So let's have just a quick little exploration of the philosophy that I have found to be very, very productive of working out. Some number of years ago, I found CrossFit, and it just made a lot more sense. Now, what people think of and see as CrossFit, there's the sort of a muscle-heady, we're crazy, we push tractors, and that's correct. But I'm not interested in that. It's not the drama of the workout. It's the effectiveness that I care about. So rather than just the gym thing of lifting weights, well, that's how I started many years ago. But the idea of the sport of fitness, it just appealed to me. So that's what I started to do. A good definition of functional fitness. Well, functional fitness. So what is fitness? It's being ready for the job. Well, what's the job? It doesn't matter. Are you ready for it? And if you're ready for it, then you're fit for it. Survival of the fittest. Oh, what does that mean? It means you can survive. What's the job? Doesn't matter. What's the temperature? Doesn't matter. Is there a lot of water or no water at all? Doesn't matter. Do you survive? If you survive, you were fit. So whatever the demands of the environment are, if you manage to survive, then you were fit to survive. It's not a value judgment. It's practicalities. It's what's the outcome. So a definition: constantly varied functional movements at high intensity. And then I've added consistently. How do you get fit? Constantly varied. It's going to be all sorts of different movements. You're going to do endurance things and strength things and stamina things and coordination things, flexibility things, everything that fitness is. You're not there to be the expert at one thing. You're not the specialist. A polar bear is a specialist, and they survive very nicely in a very extreme, very specific environment. And koala bears and, well, panda bears, very specific environment, and they're good in that. Cave bats or salamanders, cave salamanders, they're blind, but they do very well in that limited environment. Put them in a broader environment, they get eaten right away. So they're specialists. Rats, coyotes, raccoons, generalists. And you find them just about everywhere because they adapt. They're fit for whatever the occasion is. You don't want to be the rat or the coyote, maybe the raccoon, maybe the coyote, jokester, trickster. But you kind of do want to be able to handle whatever the mess is. What's the mess? Doesn't matter, you can handle it. Are you the very, very best? Maybe not. And a group of average people, you will be. But people who specialize, you're not going to be all that great because they specialize and you just do it. But the fact that you do it means you're going to be pretty good at it. That's the constantly varied. You don't specialize in anything. And then look, go ahead, specialize in something. If you want to be elite, that's the thing that you have to specialize in. And if you don't want to be elite, and I mean world class, then you can really focus on that thing, but you also do other things. It's like Jim Ryun, the runner in the 50s, who broke the 4-minute mile. I think I have that right. It's lean guy, specialized in running, but he lifted weights. And lean guy didn't lift really heavy weights, but he understood that a properly developed full musculature, not just the leg guy. And so he varied it, which was look at what he did, first guy that we know of. So constantly varied functional movements. And this is kind of my thing. Theory is very interesting when you don't know facts, when you don't know how reality really works. I'm talking about Marxists. Marx cherry-picked his data. This is back 1840s and 1850s, but he cherry-picked his data to make it fit his theory. Didn't look at how reality actually works. He looked at his theory and saw what part of reality fit into it. And I'm using that maybe a little obscure, not obscure, but unlikely example in terms of fitness because functionality. It has to be the real thing. It can't be just something that you hoped and pretended. So the example that I use is flies. You take a weight and you're way out and you bring your elbows in like you're flying, and I don't like that exercise. It's a bodybuilding exercise, and I'm not going to demonstrate it right now, but the point is, it's the same as a press. It's the same as a push. Look at what the elbow does. In fact, I will show it. So with a fly, you're out here and you bring it in. Look at what the elbow's doing. It's coming into midline. Now look at what a press does, a bench press. Elbow's the same thing. Look at what the elbow does. It comes in. Same thing, same movement, except the leverage is worse. Well, if the leverage is worse, that means you can lift less weight because it's worse leverage. Why would you weight lift so that you can have less weight? And the answer I've come up with is that it feels hard. It feels harder. It isn't harder. It is because it's inefficient. When in your life would you ever do that? You're going to find best leverage and press so that you can use the most weight, so you can send the biggest hormonal signal so that tonight your body will know to put out the hormones and repair and get bigger and stronger because of the work you did. The more muscle is engaged in work, the clearer the hormonal signal. And that's why functional, not theoretical. And I see people with the rubber bands, and I'm not against rubber bands, but they have a much more useful purpose than some kind of a fly. And again, I'm going against what people, this is what they teach and what their career is. And I don't think it needs to be complicated. People want it complicated because they want to feel like they're getting their money's worth. We're doing exotic things, and it's not my thing. I'm not gonna waste my time with it. So constantly varied, just every energy system and every push, every pull, every speed, every coordination, functional. It has to be useful. I don't need theory at high intensity. High intensity makes it unpleasant. It's hard, but it's also the thing that sends the signal. If I can lift a pencil probably 1,000 times, what kind of signal was sent? Not much of a signal. But I did all that work. Yeah, but it wasn't very intense. The example is there's 10,000 pounds of bricks on one side of the wall, and I've got to move those 10,000 bricks to the other side of the other side of the room, and I'm going to one brick at a time. And I do it, and it takes me hours and hours, but I got the job done. That's the amount of work I did. Now, I can do the same job, get the bricks to the other side, but I'm going to lift 200 pounds, load it up 200 pounds at a time. And it's a lot more work in the sense of harder, but it's also much more effective in the sense of getting a hormonal signal. So lifting lightweight a lot of times, not about strength. And if it's, at an effective level, it is about size, bodybuilding, and, some strength, but it's not about real strength. You know what I mean by real strength. So you've done the same work, you've moved the bricks, but one had some intensity to it, and you're tired, and, you're just really, really tired at the end of one. And at the other, you did a lot of walking. You're not tired because you did some walking. So that's intensity. You need to be stressed. You need to be pushed outside of the comfort zone into, there's a difference between stress and distress. This is an old distinction, but stress is salubrious. It's helpful. I have a lot of stress. Well, you might be misidentifying it. If it's a problem, it isn't stress, it's distress. So the natural stress that you rise to, this is necessary and good. I won't go on about that. There's a philosophy of animal training, dog training, but it's a different conversation. So constantly varied functional movements at high intensity, and then consistency. And I don't mean for a couple of weeks, because so what, I used to be amazing when I was in high school on the football team, but what are you now? You're an out of shape ex-high school football player. And no shame in having been, and having stopped playing high school football. You moved on. But if that's where your glory days are, then why didn't you find something you could do in your 20s or something in your 30s where you're not going to mess your knees up, and but you can have that exuberance of spirit. The point is, you don't have to be stupidly consistent, loyal to a fault. I've been a little bit like that. You have to know when to walk away. There's a point where things become futile, and you have to recognize, this is not deeply personal, this is general observation about the world. You do that cost-benefit analysis, and if it's not a matter of integrity, if it's just a matter of convenience, then by all means. One thing I know is you do not owe loyalty to an institution. To the Constitution, I think you do. To truly ethical foundations of society, you do. But you work for, I don't know, MIT, IBM. I'm picking an old example. You work for IBM. They don't care about you, and maybe they do, but they don't care about you. It's like Google Incorporated. Early on, their motto was "Don't be evil." And they were young and idealistic, and I'm convinced they have become their definition of evil. I'm absolutely convinced. The data mining that they were doing sneaky stuff. I don't know, I don't follow it, but don't be evil. Well, suppose you work there and you think that you should be loyal to the institution. No. You've got your own integrity that you need to be loyal to, and then you've got a greater good that you need to be loyal to, but it's a contract. And the contracts can be abnegated. And I'm talking about this because I'm talking about consistency. Pick what works and do it, extract the value from it, and then you can move on and you come back and you review so you don't lose those skills. This is common sense. So that is, it is a rough and ready definition of CrossFit. Sensible CrossFit. There's crazy CrossFit, and I don't want people to do that. I instruct in health and fitness with people, and I think of myself as Uncle Jack. I'm the guy. I'm looking out for you, and I'm not a shouter. I'm not a screamer. Sometimes I am, but only when it's appropriate. Only when it's going to have effective motivational purpose. There's a workout that I have people do, and I'm bringing it up because it's the only one where there's you're really pushing into intensity, and to have me get down like Sergeant Major instead of Uncle, and not screaming, but just saying go. People are not used to that. And it's motivating. And obviously not everybody responds to that. I do not respond to that. I don't need to be shouted at. I work at my own, I have my own demons screaming at me when I'm working out. I don't need anybody else doing that. It's not effective with me. But it is with most people. So, my point is find what works. And what I have found that works, and people don't always stick with it, but if it's in your psychology, constantly varied functional movements at high intensity, consistently. I don't know which one of those is the most important, but I know if you're not consistent, I guess I just said, if you find something that's effective but you don't do it, well, everybody is much smarter than their outcome suggests. We know the right thing to do. We have the information. So I was talking to a parent of a teenager the other day, and that's something I know something about. And I was saying, look, when they argue, why do I have to do that? They're not asking for information. They know why. They're not psychopaths. They may seem it. Brain isn't finished yet, so there's that kind of behavior sometimes, but they're not looking for information. You don't engage on an informational basis with them. Well, I'm getting into the psychology of it. I think that's what I wanted to say. If you've been working out and you're just not getting the results you want. Maybe you've got a personal trainer, and you did it for 10 weeks or whatever it is, and sometimes a box, a CrossFit box, or a similar functional fitness situation is a better way to go. I will tell you, I ran CrossFit Burbank for for a number of years, and COVID got us. But I would have people come, our guys, and they'd go, to Colorado or someplace, and they'd find a box and train for there a week. And the horror stories that I got back sometimes of they wanted me to jump onto a 24-inch box, and I said, oh no, do it. That's just incompetent. I can't say that it's common, but the fact that I have heard those stories, you need to find a place, if you choose to, that's going to respect you. It's about safety. I have a peripheral involvement with a company, Level Method. And Level Method it's for CrossFit boxes. It provides the programming, but it's all about the safety, all about what's appropriate. You do not do things you're not ready. And that is exactly my philosophy. What works for you. I personally do not enjoy, I don't really want to work with high-level athletes. I don't know that I have anything to teach them. They've got a psychology that is not suited to my teaching style. And I don't know if it's true or not. I've heard it over the years a couple of times. There was supposedly a study, I have not bothered to look it up, where a survey of Olympic athletes, and it's the crux of the story is, if you could win, if you could take the gold, but you die in a year, would you do it? And something like 95% said, yeah, I would. If I could get the gold, I would die in a year. And the way they train, you can believe it. And this is beyond what's reasonable. It's not about reason. It's about a kind of a drive that, frankly, normal people don't have. I like to work with normal people, highly, highly competitive people. There are some ways that I've been like that. And we need those people, and we want to, cheer on what is excellent, but I don't want to be around it too much. It's like Michael Jordan. This guy was there to win. Nothing is going to get in his way, and nothing is more important. And he's not wrong, but very, very nice guy, but don't get in his way for that sport. And someone you don't want to be around under those circumstances. Great guy, hard to be around when he's so good and you're not so good, and you're in his way. That's an odd way of approaching it, but my point is, if you're a normal person, and what's normal, well, that's a different discussion. But if you are a normal person, normal for you, and you want to achieve your level of excellence. Excellence is an absolutely relative term. It means to excel, not the world, not the universe, not the laws of physics, yourself. Your level of what have you been, can you be better than that? And the answer is almost always yes, you can be. And what a beautiful thing. It just makes me pleased when I see somebody, it's like, you watch somebody figure something out, and it's just like you were a part of that. It's a beautiful thing. So, anyway, constantly varied functional movements at high intensity with consistency. And it works. It's a good approach for exercise. And if you think about it, it's a good approach for nutrition. Constantly varied. You want a whole bunch of different stuff, different qualities, different tastes, different aromas. I've said this before. Functional. Not for pleasure only. It needs to make you better. That would be high nutrient content. Intensity. I'd have to think about how that applies, but you can probably think of a way. Because I've not applied that definition to nutrition before. And then consistency, absolutely. Absolutely. The long haul. I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm an old guy. Not old, but I've started to age. A few years ago, I started to age, and there are visible signs of aging on me now. And well, good. I knew when I was in college, I knew I was going to end up looking like Charlton Heston. And I'm getting that every once in a while. If anyone remembers Charlton Heston, aging is not a problem. Look, that's one of the things that I do. You can call it anti-aging, you can call it longevity. That's a special interest of mine. And when I talk about nutrition and when I talk about exercise, it's always about long-term, the long-term effect. If you're going to sell your soul for the short term, 5 years of fame and then you go to hell, well, I'd rather not go to hell. Thank you very much. Thank you, Satan, but no, I don't want to do that. So, consistency, pick a good habit, and stick with it. I guess that's everything I have to say about this for now. Have a good day.